All right, does Full Metal Jacket ammunition overpenetrate, and does it overpenetrate so much to cause injury or death to an innocent bystander? So we're going to do that test today. And with this test, what I want to do is ammo that starts with 4, our 45 auto, our 10 millimeter, which is 40 caliber, and our 44 special. These are pretty well-known defensive cartridges. And what I want to do today is light hollow points versus standard Full Metal Jacket weights. And why? Well, that's because that's pretty much typical. That's pretty much exactly how it's played out when you get defensive ammo most of the time, not always. So with our 45 auto, and by the way, this 45 auto box here and this 45 auto box here and this Armscore 10 millimeter, this was all donated by my patron Dan, so thank you for that. But with our 45 auto, we have the Winchester Kinetic HE. And for the interest of brevity, I chronograph all this stuff right before I set this up to give an idea of what we're working with. And this is all pretty much typical is what I was seeing, so this is pretty interesting. So Kinetic HE 185 grain, that's very typical for a defensive hollow point in 45, not always. But what is almost always typical is our 230 grain Full Metal Jacket. And we have our Winchester, Winchester White Box or Winchester USA 230 grain. So what I was getting for velocity here, or velocity and energy, is with this Winchester Kinetic HE, I was getting 1114 feet per second or 510 foot-pounds. That's pretty standard for a high-end or even a plus P light for caliber load. And with our Winchester White Box, I was getting 869 feet per second or 386 foot-pounds. Pretty much really standard here. With our 10 millimeter Armscore 180 grain Full Metal Jacket, 1177 feet per second or 554 foot-pounds energy. That's perfect. That's right in the range of typical 10 millimeter target ammo. Now with our hollow point light for caliber 155 grain XTP, 1512 feet per second, 787 foot-pounds energy. That is massive. Now with our 44 special, this is actually 44 Russian, not 44 special, as where the hollow point is 44 special. But the reason why I use this, it's 44 Russian, is because currently you cannot find the standard 44 special in your 246 grain lead round. Notice that's your standard. And with that round, it's 755 feet per second out of a 6-inch barrel with a 246 grain lead round nose. This happens to be labeled 44 Russian, but it's a 247 grain and running at 699 feet per second for 268 foot-pounds. So 699 feet per second would be 755 in a 6-inch barrel, out of, 699 out of this. So this, for all argument's sake, this is 44 special. This is your standard, 246 grain, even though it's 247 grain, classic 44 special round. And then for our hollow point, I have the Underwood 200 grain, and it's a gold dot. And what we have with that, pretty much standard as well, 850 feet per second or 321 foot-pounds energy. So decent load overall. So what I'm going to do for my ballistic test here is I might put my chronograph behind, our ballistics gel, our quote-unquote bad guy right here, and try to get some numbers. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is try to just simply see if it'll hit our innocent bystander. So what I have for my ballistic test here, I have 4 layers of denim. I have 2 inches of 10% clear ballistics. I have a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard wrapped in our high-tech white duct tape to simulate bone and kind of hold it together a little bit better like bone. And then we have a standard 16-inch block of clear ballistics. And previous testings, I've come to the equation that this medium density fiberboard, this 1/4 inch of it, equals about 2 inches of this. If you add that, typical ammo will penetrate 2 inches less. So what we're really looking at here is we have 18 inches of clear ballistics and we have that. So that's like 20 inches total, which in my estimation, the FBI says 12 to 18 is good, but 20 inches is probably getting to the edge where that might probably represent a thin human. So my opinion is if we can get through this, I'm going to say that's over penetration for sure. And then our innocent bystander, he's just standing here. He's wearing a couple layers of t-shirt. He's got a couple inches of clear ballistics. He also has this medium density fiberboard, and then he's got 6 inches of gel here. So even if we could hit that fiberboard and go through it, that would definitely represent that's a fatal wound to this innocent bystander for sure. If it does not, if it just stops in here, well, maybe not so much. So let's get started with this test and just kind of see what we're working with here. If these rounds, you know, if the full metal jackets really do over penetrate a lot more to kind of pass through this stuff. So let's get started with this test. All right, let's start up with our 44 special hollow point and see what this does and our ballistic block with our fiberboard in there. All right. So, a 200 grain bullet here, hollow point. And we went all the way to, 15 3/4 or so. Sometimes this camera doesn't want to pick this up quite well. But 15 3/4, and then we're at a couple more. That's like 17 3/4. So we stopped in here for sure. But we're getting kind of close there. But I would say, honestly, that's almost perfect. We're talking 15 3/4. It's 17 3/4. You're a 1/4 inch away from what, I would consider the FBI protocol to be. Really, really close there. So let's see how that lead round nose does. All right, our lead round nose 44 Russian, which basically is the 44 special. Let's see what this does. All right. So it does look like we passed through that. It does look like right about there it started to tumble. Now, did it hit this? I don't think it hit that. Interesting. So that is something to take into consideration, that sometimes bullets do really weird things. So as long as you weren't back to back, I think you'd be all right. So definitely what we want to know though is, what if we do this? What if this does happen here? So let's try it again with our lead round nose. All right, let's try it again. See if we can get through this. Wow. The bullet dropped down onto this table right here that's holding my juggernaut and all that, and it started spinning. I don't know what happened. Let me try to grab this bullet without getting burned. Not too hot. It's a little warm, but here we are. Did not deform at all. Have kind of a hollow base there. Let's try and figure out what happened. So it looks like we clipped the edge right here, and it kind of just clipped it right there. So it's definitely drifting, because I hit more centered and it drifted to the side. So I really want to see. I got another gel block if I shoot the heck out of this one. I just want to see what happens when this goes in here. So I'm going to shoot just a little bit more to the right, and I moved that block, to the left. We should catch this. All right. All right. And I thought that I had saw something hit the dirt a little bit to the right of me, and that's what we're seeing here. It entered right here and it hit this fiberboard and it bounced off this fiberboard. But we got enough looking right here to see that it really didn't go through, but I think it could have if it was more centered. So I'm gonna say I think it's still a possibility that this would be deadly. even though it's your lowly little lead round nose there, because it's just, you know, it's, I don't know. It's got a lot of momentum going on. So let's pull another piece of fiberboard up here and try to shoot where there's no other shots with something else. All right, next up we have our 45 auto with that Kinetic HE. Very powerful round for a 45. Let's see what this does. Wow. So that thing knocked that around, and it just took a big old chunk out of this fiberboard. It's quite massive. It's just awesome. Wow. So it looks like here we are. We dumped that energy. Let's try to put this back up so I can kind of get a good measurement on this. All right. So this is kind of a rough measurement here because this kind of moves around. But what we're looking at here, damage path is about 9 3/4, so it's like 11 3/4. So definitely not a whole lot of penetration going on there. It dumped that energy. So this is a classic example of, you know, a really good hollow point. So let's put our 45 ball down here and see if we have a difference going on. All right, 45 ball, kind of interesting. Sometimes you hear people say, well, it's the best FMJ to use because it won't penetrate very much. But then on the other hand, a 230 grain has a lot of momentum behind it. So this is one of those things I hear about all the time that we're really gonna find out now. So let's find out the truth here. 45 auto ball. Is it good for self-defense? Let's hit this block. All right. So we went right through here, and it looks like we arced up. And we came out here, and I don't see where that bullet, well, I'm gonna bring this camera down here. Yep, that's it, it's hot. So how did this come out? I'm not sure what happened here, other than we can kind of see a little hole coming through the back here, about center. It looks like it arced up and then a little bit to the left. So yeah, I think what we're working with here is this. That wasn't there before. We bounced off the t-shirt. So just going through that gel, that's what happened. So I guess I am gonna agree here with what people were saying. It bounced off a t-shirt after going through what I would consider your exact representation of a person. So that was pretty good. That was pretty good. That's excellent. Learn something new and confirm something new all the time. That's cool. Let's try our 10 millimeter now. All right, 10 millimeter with our 155 grain hollow point. This one makes me a little bit nervous just because, you know, it's so powerful. We're probably gonna lift that block right up, but you know, almost 800 foot-pounds. That's close to some of your 44 mag power, but only 155 grain, so I don't think we'll get over penetration. But let's see what happens. All right. So here we are in the bottom here. I'm gonna flip this because what we had is we had jacket separation, and it came through and it stopped right here, and the core fell out. But the total damage path is then about 13, so that's about 15 total with just gel. So that's decent penetration for how light of a bullet it is. So definitely pretty good. Let's see how that 10mm, Full Metal Jacket does. A little bit cautious on that, just because it's a flat nose. Those are known for penetrating forward and deep. So let me turn this, and we'll hit it right here, so we can get a good look at that. And let's see what we get. All right, 10mm Full Metal Jacket. Let's see what this does. So definitely penetrated through. This is one of those interesting things. I'm not seeing a lot going on, but now I do kind of. It drifted down so much it hit the bottom of this table here, this shelf. And it just kind of went through all of it just because it hit that. So what we're gonna definitely need to do, I'm gonna move this up just a little bit closer, and then I'm just gonna hit it a lot higher. Even though there's kind of stuff in the center, I'm gonna just try to hit it through the center and just try to not hit anything in there. Which is basically center, dead center. We should be fine with hitting that without hitting other stuff. So let me try again. All right, 10mm Full Metal Jacket. Let's try it again. All right, what was that? I heard kind of the same thing going on. Yeah, we had the exact same thing going on we had with the 45 auto. It bounced off that. It went in. No, it did not. It did go through. It went through completely, and then it came out the side right here, and this one's hot, but we got it right here. A little bit deformed, but because we got a good enough centered hit where we can actually see, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a hole in that fiberboard that's where we didn't even take off the edge. So that's definitely over penetration. So now that we've got that out of the way, we can definitely see here that really the only one out of these that I would truly consider lethal as over penetrating. I might consider the 44 Special, just because of what it did here. And definitely I would consider the 10mm. Now the 45, on the other hand, that's debatable. Probably not. That probably had the least. But what I want to do now is I want to do the same test. Let's put up a new block here. And we caught all the hollow points, so those are no issues there. But I'm going to put up a new block, and I'm going to shoot through that block through a piece of fiberboard. And then I'm going to have the chronograph behind it, and we'll see if we can pick up numbers. I think one of the reasons why it didn't work last time is just because we're seeing we get a lot of drifting. So maybe I can put that chronograph or the block closer, we might get a reading. So let's try that. All right, first up we have our 44 Special. We'll see if that will pick up a reading. I don't know if it will. It did. 166 feet per second. So 166 feet per second is definitely not very powerful. However, this is the heaviest bullet of the group at 247 grains. Interesting. Let's move on to something else. All right, 10mm Full Metal Jacket. This one's probably going to have the most power through that, but let's see if I can get a reading. I did. 682 feet per second. Wow. That is for sure lethal. I got a few more rounds in here. Shoot at my steel plate. 25 yards away, hit it every time. Good ammo. But yeah, over penetrating for darn sure. Let's try our Full Metal Jacket 45. All right, 45 auto ball. Let's see what we got. .528. So considering this is a lot heavier bullet, this kind of goes against that original thought that it might not be deadly. So let me empty these rounds here. Steel plate, 25 yards. Miss. I broke my string holding that. But anyways, that is an interesting test for sure. I'm gonna say you probably still don't want to use 45 ball. And I'm gonna say this is something that's interesting. I think I'm gonna link this. It's a little clip I did. It's a private video. I shot 5 rounds in the gel, boom, 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 out of my Taurus G2C with 115 grain 9mm, and it was just ballistics gel. That's all it was. I had 2 blocks of it, and all of them stopped on average of like 21 inches. You know, this is more than that, definitely. This is going to be, I would consider more than that. And I'm going to say, why do I consider it more than that? Well, even though we only have 18 inches and be 20 inches with the fiberboard, those bullets were stopping. Those bullets were completely stopping. So if they passed through, they wouldn't have any velocity really. As where this is, what was that? 528 feet per second after going through. So yeah, I think that whole thing that 9mm always over penetrates and 45 auto is a good one you want to use because it's got more diameter, therefore it's going to slow down, blah 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 blah. No, I don't buy it. Now the 44 special, I might use that. I might say that's okay. It's a pretty hard lead. I thought it'd be soft because it was black, but no, it's super solid. We had the least deformation, but that's because we had the least energy. So that's why we had the least deformation. And it looks like it's just coated in some black thing because the lead inside is a little bit lighter color, like an alloy. Interesting overall test though. So I'm going to say here, you're going to still want to stick with hollow points. And part of the reason being is even though you go up in diameter, which should have more drag, you're also going up massively in bullet weight. So like a 380, you're only talking like what, 90 grains, 95 grains. You know, 45 is 230 grains. That's a massive difference. And you add that to that you already have, you know, 2 to 3 times the energy on top of that. It makes sense that this is passing through. I would expect no less. So that's what you get today. 40 caliber above, Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, you don't wanna use Full Metal Jacket or lead around those, except maybe this. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.